Good morning and warm welcome to distinguished participants here. And so, today I'm here to talk about the web-stress security standards, for CCA. So we C-DAC and CCA office, we are working together to, match our ISMS-based security standards with benchmark of web trust. So, and we try to see how it can be addressed, the requirement of web trust by assessing our existing ISMS-based security systems. So I would like to give you a brief introduction about web trust, so how the web trust works and how it is, okay. So web trust is basically a trust service. So it is based on audit and assurance services. So using web trust, we can achieve the trust in the internet. Okay, the web trust is set the principles and criteria put together by American Institute of Chartered Accountant and as well as Canadian Institute of Chartered Accountant. Okay, so the web trust task force is an associate member of CAB forum. So where they actively participate in setting the guidelines for PKI infrastructure for various PKI-based infrastructure services. And the web trust standards and criteria are consistent with majorly the three standards, which is called ANSI, ISO, as well as IETF. Okay, so all the standards are consistent with that. And when you talk about web trust service principles, so how the web trust services principles are designed, basically these 5 types. So security, so how the physical or logical securities are designed to protect against unauthorized access. And availability, so how the services are available to the committed and agreed principles. And process integrity, so how the accuracy and timely authorized, so how the system is processed with take care of your integrity. And confidentiality, so if an information is designated as confidential, right? So how that is protected against breach of confidentiality. And then finally the privacy. So for example, an entity provides all this personal details, so how to ensure that it is as per the conformity, the private informations are protected. So these are the basic principles that actually web trust is focused on. Yeah, please. Covered, sir. So all sort of data integrity. For example, if you say, basically that is the core aspect of this certificate, right? Okay, so when you talk about web trust, there are different audit schemes. So basically there are 6 schemes total. So 5 schemes for CAs and 1 is for RAs. So these are the schemes which is basically based on the CAB forum. So the CAB forum have the different set of guidelines for all the PKI infrastructure. So the web trust for CA is the baseline, basic requirement. And when you talk about SSL, there are 2 types. One is basic baseline requirement with network security. So the baseline requirement actually captures around 9 parameters from the subscribers. And then we have something called extended validation. So extended validation actually captures around 16 parameters. And the extended validation can be even applicable if possible code signing. So code signing is another thing. And actually the verified mark certificate, which is a recent one, and which is used for SMIME applications, email applications, so where you can get audited for your application services. And finally, there are RAs. So RAs also can be a part of web trust. So any RAs they wish to certify under web trust also possible. So that's all is auditing schemes. And we try to see what is there inside the web trust. So basically, if you see what is the main intent of web service. So web service has principles and criteria, okay, so it can be used as a control framework. So it provides the control framework. So to assess the adequacy. So what is the adequate level of security that is required, and of your CA systems, practices and procedures. So if you already have practices and procedures, so you can actually see that how these controls are adequate based on the web trust principles. And it provides the basic self-assessment. So you can use it as a self-assessment for developing, maintaining a strong PK infrastructure. Okay, so and then as an assessor or a practitioners, you can see this as a framework for benchmark for setting your framework and performing your internal or external audit. So this is the main intent of web trust. And then we have, okay. So then we see principles and criteria of web trust. So there are basically three principles. One is the business practice disclosure. So how your business practice are disclosed, whether it would be key or certificate lifecycle management, or your CA control environment, or published in your certificate policy or practice statement. Basically, the CP and CPS are actually derived, and it's from IETF RFC 3647, and also it supports the older framework, which is 2527. So but basically this recommend to use the latest one. But obviously, if you are using the old standard, still you can continue to use it. Basically for your PK infrastructure. And then service integrity. So how your service are offering integrity, like key and certificate is managed, established, protected through the life cycle. So throughout the life cycle, how the integrity is protected. So that actually gives the principles and criteria for that. And then finally, CA environmental control. So which is basically any ISMS standard things. But also it is actually derived and defined, set the benchmark for CA, especially for certifying authorities, right? Next slide, please. Yeah. So here we have criteria and illustrative controls. So there are, it's based on the three principles. For example, 1 and 2 is based on the disclosure principle, and 3 is for CA control environment. And 4 to 7 is all your life cycle management. So here just I try to show you what are the criteria and illustrations. And so for each and everything, every criteria, there are some illustrative controls are there. So we can actually refer, so based on which are the controls, and then we can actually refer with our existing ISMS standard, and then we can see is there any gap available. So we just try to work towards that. I'll just show you how we started working. Just move next slide. Yeah, so this is the framework which we designed for CCA, specifically CCA. So we can see the blue color one, which is the documents which is already we have, so like CPS and CPs. And then we have ISMS related documents which talks about the security requirements, and we have templates for maintaining the records. Okay, so on right side you see the green color one, which are the standards we take the reference from. And the red color one is the one which we are designing now, so which is called CCA Core Security Framework, so based on the web trust. So we take the reference from the web trust and see what are the criteria and illustrative controls, and try to map with our existing ISMS standard and try to find out is there a gap or how do we improve ourselves. So that is the we are looking forward, right? So I'll just try to show you how we are designed. So core security framework. So what is the core idea of core security framework, how we designed it? The security activities, controls, organized, customized. So we try to customize because web trust it's basically a standard. So we try to customize how it can be fit into our CCA kind of an environment, and what are the things which you need to take care of most and least, like that. And then based on the web trust principles and criteria. And designed to cover a breadth security objectives. So what all it can be covered, so we try to see that, and it's not being detailed. So that we don't have any much detailing there, so we're taking direct standard and try to refer it with, so we are referring into the policy procedure document, which is already we are practicing it, and try to see the depth coverage. So if suppose a particular requirement is there, how we can detail it out on procedures and things like that. And derived with reference of ISO, and also we included a NIST framework here as well, and based on the IT Act requirement. So we try to map these two things, and then try to identify the gaps, and we try to work towards to match the requirement of Web Trust framework. And these are the documents which we already have in practicing. So we try to map from Web Trust to our policy and procedure documents. So we have list of policy and procedure framework like information security, asset management, human resource security, physical environment, media. And basically, if you can see some of the documents like key lifecycle management, certificate lifecycle management. So we try to have this document, and we try to compare with WebTrust and existing policy documents. So we'll just have few slides. I can just show you how we are trying to correlate and then identify and detailing it out. Yeah, so here we have the actual design of analyzing the gap and trying to enhance the benchmarks. Okay, so left side you see we have a criteria, which is actually the criteria from WebTrust. And then we try to, because it is not, I just try to summarize it very short, so that it is presentable. And there are some illustrative controls. For example, let's say an information security policy document published and communicated, right? So how these things can be derived from the standard reference, for example, from NIST and ISO 27001. So we have the policy document, which is information security management, and from there we are taking the reference from the given point of reference, and then we try to detailing it out, and what are the steps that you need to follow in order to achieve the adequate security requirement for the CCA. Business, for example, process for new information processing. Suppose if you are processing new information, what are the standards that are to be followed? And for example, let's say risk assessment. So how the risk assessment can be followed. So we have, there are two documents we are referring here. So security, third-party access. So with related to third-party access, what are the requirement? One is the information security, about how we can ensure the security for the third-party access, and what are the risks consist of doing in third-party access. So what are the risks, and how we try to see risk 1 and 2, whether it's how to handle the risk management. All those things we are referring to the standard, and then we detailing it out what are the things that are to be followed. Yeah. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this is another example. So we are taken, see if you can see the heading. So CCA environment control, that is the topic. And under that, we have the system access management. Under that, we have criteria. For example, user access management, network access management, controls, and system software. So actually, in WordPress, it is given a long sentence, so I just short it out by system software and network access device. So for example, you have a softwares, right? Application, not application, the baseline software, which would be in OS or hypervisor or things like that. So how you actually can secure using WebTrust benchmarks like periodic review update systems, so whether you are doing update or not. So how will you correlate with our existing document like maintenance changes? So maintenance changes after access control management. So maintenance, suppose you do an update, whether it's what is the current latest thing which has to be done. So we need to do that. And for example, patch management. So how frequently you have to do patch and things like that. So this is how we are trying to drive it out, and then finally we try to identify the gaps and then try to fill it with whatever required based on the WebTrust benchmark, and try to match to the WebTrust requirement. Yeah. So thank you. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Arvind sir and CCA office for giving us this opportunity to work for CCA. So and also I'd like to thank the participants. Yeah. Thank you.